My coach touched me, harassed me, and groomed me, and I never got justice. So I was about 12 years old at the time. My school was in Texas, so sex education wasn't really prevalent back then, even though we were in middle school. Me and my friends wanted to join the cheer squad for our local football team, and we did. We auditioned and got in. But for whatever reason, the coach was just staring at me weird, looking me up and down. So the day of practice, I came and met the other girls. They seemed friendly, so I would get along with them. So one day I was trying to do a backflip and I couldn't and kept falling, so the coach helped me. No one else was watching because they were doing something else, so the coach told me to do a couple of stretches. I did the knee to chest stretch, and while she was helping me move my knee farther up, she touched my butt. I looked at her and she was just looking at it. She said sorry and that I had something there, and I said it was fine. After that, she helped me do the backflip. She held my back and touched my chest for a mid-second while I was flipping. After 6 tries, I managed to do the flip. So after that, I went home and I felt weird about it. But I didn't tell anyone anything. So the next day at practice, she kept staring at me weirdly and told me to stay after practice because I was lacking in some skills. I told her okay. So when I stayed after, you will not believe what happened next. Come back for part 2. So I stayed after because she told me I was lacking some skills. So we started practicing and then she gave me a lollipop as a reward. She told me that I was the best student and that I was beautiful. I smiled because I felt good about myself. She said let's go into her office because she wanted to show me something cool and I agreed. So she sat me down in her chair and looked up a website. This website was PH and she looked up 2 girls doing stuff. Then the video played and it was girls kissing at first, then they started doing inappropriate things. She then paused it and told me to come here and to sit on her lap. I didn't want to, but I couldn't say no because she was my coach. So I sat down. Then she tried to kiss me and I got up and ran away. She shouted for me to come back, but I knew this was wrong. My mom asked me what was wrong and I told her everything. My mom said she was going to bring her to court to settle this and I said okay. So we ended up talking to the police and scheduling a date to put her on trial. So we went to the courthouse and I saw her. I got anxious and looked away. I was scared for some reason, but that was probably my intuition warning me. So it was at the part saying whether she was guilty or not, and you will not believe what they said. Come back for part 2. So I saw her in court and looked away because I was scared. So at the part when the judge declared whether she was guilty or not, she was not guilty. This made my mom start to yell, and I was super upset about it as well. I started to cry. Then when we walked out, we looked at each other, and I just walked away. I knew she was staring at me. So I went back to practice in spite of everything happening, and she sat here and told me in front of everyone that I was kicked off the team because I was horrible. The girls laughed and even people who were supposed to be my friends. Soon rumors spread around quickly that I lied and that I accused her of doing stuff that she didn't do. I think one of my friends, well, ex-friends now, had actually told someone. I started getting bullied after this. It was so bad to the point where I didn't attend school anymore. I had to get homeschooled. People still make fun of me and bully me till this day, saying that I lied. I don't know if anybody else is out there. I submitted this story to bring more awareness to those who don't have access to sex education like I do. It's sad, and more people should be exposed to this. Follow for more story times, and follow my Instagram as well. Their dog killed my dog, so I killed theirs. So I had just gotten a puppy. It was a small Pomeranian. It was white and it was the cutest thing ever. Me and her immediately bonded. Her name was Miffy. I thought it was adorable and perfect for her. One day, I went on my walk like I usually did, and I saw this blue-nosed pit bull walking towards us. I thought it was friendly, so I smiled. Miffy walked towards it and barked once, like a friendly bark, because Miffy was a friendly good dog. Then I blinked, and the next thing you know, the dog had its teeth around its neck. I tried to separate the dog from my dog, but it wouldn't let go. My dog was screaming in pain so loud that it hurt my ears. I started screaming for help, yelling for somebody to get their dog. A kid came by and commanded the dog to let go. And it did. Miffy was so weak, her eyes were watery, and she was barely breathing. I started crying and ran back home. I told my mom what happened, and she immediately drove us to the vet, begging for services. They took her in and examined her in a separate room. Me and my mom started arguing. She asked me what I was doing the entire time, and I told her I had my eyes on Miffy. Then we stopped arguing as the doctor came in. The doctor gave us our results, and you will not believe what happened next. Come back for part 2. So the doctors came back in and told us that she was in pain and dying slowly, and that it would be best to put her down. I started breaking down. I only had her for a month, but I was so in love with her. She was practically like my child. So I went into the other room, said my goodbyes, and they put her down. I held a mini funeral for her and everything. My mom asked me if I wanted to sue them, but I told her I had a better idea. So I decided to befriend the dog owner and give it a taste of my karma. So I made cookies for the boy. They were shaped like Miffy, and I gave them to him. I said this was a peace offering and said it was okay and that I forgave him. We were 12 at the time, so obviously he was going to be gullible. I befriended him and we became close over time. We liked a lot of the same things and we had a lot in common. We also had a compatible zodiac signs. I was a Pisces and he was a Cancer. I'm not gonna lie, I began to feel bad and I thought maybe I shouldn't do this, but I wanted justice for Miffy. So one day I was walking down the block by myself and I saw his dog. This was my chance. I held out a treat and lured the dog into my bedroom. And I started making the secret recipe for revenge. You will not believe what happened next. Come back for part 3. I was going on my usual walk and I ended up seeing his dog, so this was finally my perfect chance. I took out a treat from my pocket and I lured him into my house. My mom and dad weren't home, so this was the perfect time for my plan. I ended up leading the dog all the way upstairs to my bedroom, gave him a treat, and locked him in the bedroom. And I ended up making my little concoction in the kitchen. I mixed together chocolate, rat poisoning, cleaner, and more dog treats. I ended up putting it in a little bowl. I brought it up to my bedroom, put it in front of him, and locked the bedroom door. After that, I went to the living room and I watched TV for an hour. I felt really bad for what I did, but I had a revenge mentality and wanted to avenge Miffy. So after that, I went up to my bedroom and ended up puking and crapping everywhere. So I cleaned that up, put some gloves on, put the dog in a trash bag, and left it in his backyard. The next day, I ended up calling the dog owner, and I asked him if he wanted to hang out since we were friends now. He said no. I asked him why. He said he went through stuff. And I said okay. We are still friends to this day and he doesn't know it was me. Follow for more story times. I fed my ex-best friend roaches and mouse poop because she betrayed me. So I used to be friends with this girl, let's call her Amari. Amari and I met in English class and had a project together. We ended up making jokes and getting along and immediately bonding. Everything was perfect at first, I'd say. We were astrologically compatible as well. She was a Cancer and I was a Scorpio. Over time, I started to notice a lot of issues that she had. I would always be there for her emotionally, but whenever I need something, she'd tell me to quickly get over it or completely dismiss how I feel and just logically look through the situation. Whenever I would show her my clothes, she would joke too much and say my clothes look ugly. I told her to stop doing it numerous times, but she just wouldn't listen. Whenever I would try and tell her I'm uncomfortable with the situation, she would pin it on me. She'd emotionally manipulate me and gaslight me a lot. One day, I got sick of her and I just cut her off. Then she came back to me begging, telling me she'd changed, and I believed her. So I accepted her back. She was better, I'm not gonna lie. I never forgave her, but I was still willing to give her a chance. She flipped everything around and we continued being friends. Then one day, we were in class and this new boy transferred into class. And you will not believe what happened next. Come back for part 2. We were in class and this new boy transferred in. His name was Leon. He had brown skin, had a nice figure and dreads. He had white shiny teeth as well. He was cute, I'm not gonna lie. I told Amari I liked him and she wanted to set us up actually. So the plan was she became best friends with him and then made us date. I agreed. She went up to him, got his number, and then told me. She said he offered her to go to the mall with his friends, but she'll just drag me along. So after that, we all met up at the mall and I wore the prettiest outfit. A red dress and black heels. So when I got there, she just started laughing and asking, "What's the occasion?" I just simply stated I wanted to look good for myself. Leon stared at me and said I looked good. Me and him start talking, and then Amari stands between us and says Leon is so funny and hits his arm. She does this for the rest of the night. She cock blocks us and flirts with him. When we went back to my house, I confronted her about it and she said she was just making him want more. So when she went to the bathroom, I looked through her phone and saw them flirting over text. I saw her texting saying my outfit was ugly, that I had a roach problem, and that my kitty stunk and I was dirty. I told her not to tell anyone I had a roach problem. Boy, do I have some karma for her. Come back for part 3 to find out what happens next. She was talking crap about my outfit, body, and told him about my roach problem after she promised not to tell. I was hurt, but since she wants to talk about my roach problem, I'll give her a taste of my own medicine, literally. So she came back from the bathroom and she asked to stay a little longer and I agreed. I hated her being in my house, but I knew she was going to be hungry. So she asked me if I can make something to eat and I said sure. I went into my kitchen and thought, what could I make to eat that will conceal roaches? And I thought of meatballs and pasta. So my mom had ground beef in the fridge and I decided to make meatballs with it. I put roaches in the middle of the meatball and I didn't think it was enough. So since we lived in New York City, rat poop was everywhere. So I got some rat poop, wearing gloves of course, and put them in the meatballs. I cooked hers in a separate pot to not mix them with mine. So after that, I served her the food and she ate it. She said that hers was a little crunchy and creamy. I nodded and said I added something special and told her it was a secret. After that, she went home and I laughed. Later on that night, she texted me saying she projectile vomited and a leg came out. After that, I blocked her and never spoke to her again. Karma's a bitch. Follow for more story times and follow my Instagram as well. My boyfriend tried to pimp me out in Las Vegas. So I used to date this guy, let's call him Nathan. I met him on Yubo. If you don't know what Yubo is, it's kind of like Tinder, you know, with the whole swiping method, but for making friends instead. And people of all ages could go on there. I thought he was cute. He owned a Tesla at 17, so he was rich as well. So I swiped on him. He immediately friended me back and we started talking and flirting. Our chemistry was so great, we decided to meet up. He lived in LA and I lived in New York City, but I didn't have any money. He offered to pay for my trip back and forth. I didn't trust him fully, so I told him to cash out me the amount for a ticket back and forth. Not a round trip because I wanted to leave in case something went bad. He ended up sending me $10K. I was so excited. I literally was going to go on a shopping spree there. Summer soon came and I went on the plane. I met him there and he was cute, but he was acting weird and there was 2 other guys with him. He told me I could just stay at his place instead of a hotel because that's for the last day and I agreed. The guys were gawking at me, examining me, and I think one of them took a picture of me. Everything was fine, but one night he told me to dress up for the club and you will not believe what happens next. Come back for part 2. He tells me we have to go to the club. I've never been, but I decided to go anyway. I wore a cute red dress with some vibrant blue heels, curled my hair, and did my makeup. He was wearing a super nice outfit and wore a red pin that had a capital P on his tux. I asked him what it was for, and he said he didn't know, he just found it cool. Then after that, we went to the club, and I saw the guy letting us in wearing a P as well. We started dancing and everything was fine. Then some guys came around me with the P pen and started dancing with me too. Then my ex dragged me outside with a bunch of men. They all had the letter P on them as well. We went into a limo and went to a hotel. They came with us and then he literally looked at me and told me to strip. What? What do you mean strip? I asked, and he was serious. I ran out of the room immediately. He chased after me and explained he needs to pay these guys back because that's how he gets his money. I told him he's insane for thinking he could use me for that. I went to a hotel for the night while I got a ticket for tomorrow. I went back home and blocked him on everything and never spoke to him again. I gave him the money because I want to know ties with him. Lesson learned, don't ever just meet people on Yubo. Follow for more story times and follow me on Instagram as well. Click the link in my bio for some Robux as well.